Hey everyone, welcome to Cinema Safari. Today we are talking about Project Hail Mary. We did have to miss a couple episodes for some different reasons. We did have some big Oscar episodes planned over the past couple of weeks, but unfortunately we did end up having to cancel those. But we're back with this episode. Very excited. We have some big episodes coming up that we're excited about. So today we're going to be talking about Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary stars Ryan Gosling as Ryland Grace, who is recruited into Project Hail Mary to help save the human race. So stick around with us as we dive into Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary is the latest film from Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the duo behind the Spider-Verse films as well. They directed the film from a screenplay by Drew Goddard. It's based on the 2021 novel by Andy Weir, who also co-produced the film with Ryan Gosling. Also in the cast, we have Sandra Hiller, James Ortiz, Lionel Boyce. So in the film, we see Ryan Gosling's character, Ryland Grace, who is recruited by this organization headed by Sandra Hiller's character for Project Hail Mary to try and save the human race that are facing different things on Earth that are causing problems for them, basically. It was released alongside Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, The Pout Pout Fish, and it was projected to gross around $65 million in its opening weekend in the US and Canada. It ended up debuting to 80.6 million in the US and Canada, and a global worldwide total of 141 million in its opening weekend, becoming Amazon MGM Studios' biggest debut to date. It's been getting very, very good reviews. There's a lot of pros and some cons for the film, but definitely a lot of pros for the film. A lot of people are talking about, especially the Rock character that Ryan Gosling meets along the way as a fan favorite, kind of like I think Grogu in The Mandalorian in some ways. Very cute character. Overall, the film, for me, it looks amazing. It has a lot of great visuals, I think. Performances were great. Ryan Gosling, always on his A game. I think a great actor. So he definitely had a great performance. I thought that was definitely a highlight in the film. The story, the storyline, it definitely was a little different than I expected based on some of the trailers I saw, not in a bad way. It was still an interesting story to watch. Nothing too deep, I don't think, if that makes sense, but definitely entertaining. Definitely some, I don't want to say twists, but things I didn't really necessarily expect based on what I at least thought I knew going into the film. But I was still very impressed with the film, and it definitely satisfied my expectations of what I wanted to see going into the film. So it's definitely something I recommend for science fiction fans. It's definitely, there's a lot of science fiction feel to the film. So definitely for that type of audience, they will definitely enjoy it, I think. But I think just as a general audience, I think it's a strongly made film. So I think that people will a more generalized audience will still enjoy the film, not just like a specific group of like fans, if that makes sense. Um, so definitely a lot of pros for the film. Um, Ryan Gosling's performance was definitely highlighted as a strong point for the film. Very compelling, heartfelt performance as the title character. Really showcasing his charm, ability to connect with audiences. Definitely a very big sci-fi feel to the film. It's a great like sci-fi adventure. Um, similar to like a lot of the Star Wars content we got. Like in its heyday, because it has kind of faltered a little, kind of trying to find its footing again. Um, and in some cases it has, but that's another conversation. But yeah, Project Hail Mary I think is kind of like feels like one of those classic like sci-fi adventures that when some of these other sci-fi franchises are at their like peak, I think this is kind of like similar to that. So that was definitely, as a sci-fi fan, definitely something I really enjoyed. There's a lot of action and drama in the film, so the film combines like action, drama, and comedy, and it provides a very well-rounded entertainment experience. So there's a lot of drama in the film based on like the concept and themes in the story, but there's also a lot of a lot of comedy, especially Ryan Gosling interacting with the Rock character and some other aspects of his journey in space and all that. So there's definitely a good mix, and I think that also helps make it more compelling to watch because you do have those different elements, and they make it. And I guess it's also from like a writing standpoint, they do it like Drew Goddard did it well. So you have that combination of comedy, drama, um, and it like blends well together. Because there have been some movies where you try to add these elements, like some comedy aspects in like a darker drama film, or maybe like in a comedy film try to have some serious moments. And there's been a lot of cases in certain films where it hasn't necessarily worked that well, but this one I think definitely they definitely do it in a way where it does work well and it feels natural in a lot of ways. So some cons for the film. Um, some critics pointed out that there's a lot of cliches in the film. Um, it relies on some like familiar tropes in the sci-fi narratives, which I can see how people thought that, because there are definitely a lot of elements in the sci-fi parts of the film that have been done a lot before, that looked familiar, felt familiar. So I can definitely see that. I think that was one of the biggest cons for the film. Um, some of the pacing for the film felt a little uneven, with some moments kind of dragging. With this type of film, because Ryan Gosling did, a lot of film was him in space alone. So a lot of it, does rely on like him interacting with certain elements um, that aren't necessarily interacting back, if that makes sense. So a lot of it's on his own. So it definitely, I think, in some ways, it kind of mirrors Star Wars, like with Luke on Dagobah and Empire Strikes Back, interacting with Yoda and those different elements. And he was only like live actor, so to speak, at least that we saw. So I think in some ways it kind of mirrors that. So that kind of might be something that caused those like pacing issues to that film. But overall, I think it was definitely a strong film. A lot of great things going for it. People I talk to, they think that I've been hearing a lot of positives about the film more than negatives. So I think that the positives outweigh the negatives for Project Hail Mary, and it's definitely something I would recommend. So with that, we are going to wrap up today's episode. So Project Hail Mary, definitely a movie that I was excited for. Part mostly for like its sci-fi elements. I'm a huge sci-fi fan, Star Wars, Star Trek. I love sci-fi alien movies. They're scary, but I do. There are certain alien movies that I do. I have like genuinely enjoyed watching. So like overall for sci-fi, it's definitely one of my favorite genres, if not my favorite. So I definitely was looking forward to this movie coming out. I love Ryan Gosling, so I was very excited for it, and I was not disappointed with it. Like I said, like it did drag in certain parts of the film, but not enough to like hinder my experience for the film and like my enjoyment of the film. I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely recommend it, both for science fiction fans and non. If you're a science fiction fan, you definitely, I think, will love this movie. Definitely enjoy it. There's a lot of sci-fi elements, a lot of cool elements, a lot of cool like shots in the film that those sci-fi fans out there will enjoy. So it's definitely a great experience. Definitely a strong film. I think maybe one of the strongest films of the year so far, if not the strongest. In terms of the like just overall of how the film was made. Yeah, so I definitely recommend it. Even for general audiences, check it out. Definitely a fun film and worth the watch. So, like, hear your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. Comment on today's episode with your thoughts on Project Hail Mary. If you're not already, we're on social media. And next episode, we will be talking about another very highly anticipated film of the year, the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I think that's what it's called. So that's going to be a big episode. I'm excited for that. I love Yoshi. He's going to be in the film. So I'm excited to talk about that. I'm excited to watch the film and then talk about it in our next episode. So thank you for watching. And as always, thank you for your support. We will see you next time.